Hey guys, Slasher Movies 410 back again with another video, and for today's video, I'm going to be discussing my thoughts on Scream 6, what I want to see in Scream 6 personally, and talking about my early predictions before the film comes out this Friday. So as you all know, the new film will pick up where the last installment left off with the survivors of the latest Woodsboro massacre, leaving the town behind in order to start a new life in New York City. I really dig this premise, and I think the location change is a really good thing. It may not feel like a typical Scream movie because of the New York City atmosphere. However, we can't forget that they changed locations in Scream 2 in a fictional place called Windsor College in Ohio, and then Scream 3 eventually took place in Hollywood, California. So again, I don't mind the change at all, and I also think that Ghostface really fits in New York City, unlike Jason, but that's a whole nother story. And based on everything that we got in the trailer, I think that this film has a lot of potential to be great. I thought it was really interesting that the main drive of this trailer is building up the new Ghostface as more of a threat, since, you know, one of the favorite running gags in this series is that the killers were always defeated at the very end, you know? And I think it would be really interesting to see the killers actually get away with the murders for a change. Something like this was originally supposed to be explored in Wes Craven's original plan for his Scream 5. You know, Jill Roberts got away with the murders and she succeeded in killing Sidney Prescott, and then she eventually goes to college and then more murders start happening, and then the new killer actually tries to expose Jill for what she did, and then she has to cover it up. I might make a future video going more in depth on Wes Craven's original plan for Scream 5, so if you guys would like to see a video on that, just let me know in the comments section below. So let's get back to Scream 6. So this new Ghostface is a lot more tactical, especially since he uses a shotgun in the trailer in the convenience store. And I think that the convenience store scene could actually be the opening scene to change things up, kind of like how Scream 2 did with the movie theater opening. And I think that Sam, Tara, Mindy, and Chad go to this convenience store specifically to purchase alcohol for a big Halloween party. And then they eventually see Ghostface walk in and murder the cashier and then eventually steal his shotgun. So when Ghostface grabs the shotgun and he's shooting at them, they duck for cover, and then they eventually make their escape from him. And then they run to a nearby subway station where we see everyone wearing horror costumes because they're all going to a bar or club on Halloween night, so it makes a lot of sense. Also, as most of you know, most of the killers after Billy and Stu were pretty weak, especially the last killers, Richie and Amber specifically. I remember Sydney even joked at the end of Scream 5 that Richie and Amber aren't even worth mentioning to the public. So I really think that these new killers will be taken a lot more seriously in order to change things up, which will eventually set a new tone for the franchise. I also have a feeling that this new killer is going to be much smarter than the other Ghostface killers were. I feel that there are going to be multiple killers, probably 3, and I think they will all make sure to not betray each other or stab each other in the back at the end of the film, kind of like how Billy and Stu did, or even Jill and Charlie did. And I really think they're going to stay united and have each other's back because their main goal is to simply survive. I also think that the new killers are going to completely avoid Sidney Prescott entirely because they are aware that she's the sole survivor and that she'll defeat them if they encounter her. They also know that they don't stand a chance, so this will actually explain Neve Campbell's absence in this movie, and it just fits really well into the narrative overall. I also have a feeling that the new killers will not waste their time revealing their true identity at the end of the film, because that is what actually led to the other killers' downfall in the previous 5 movies. They just bought way too much time, and that was their downfall. And to reiterate, I have a feeling that this Ghostface will really pay close attention to the mistakes that the other Ghostface killers made and try to avoid these mistakes in order to survive. I also personally think that Gale Weathers is going to die in this film. Of course, her husband Dewey died in the previous film, and he didn't put up much of a fight, but I have a feeling this time around that Gale will put up a hard-fought fight, but I do think that Ghostface will outsmart her and get the upper hand, and I think that somehow Ghostface is going to catch her by surprise, and then she's going to get killed in a brutal fashion. And I also think the filmmaker's intention is to kill off the legacy characters other than Sydney, because not only is she a Scream Queen, but I just can't really picture her dying if they ever bring Neve Campbell back for a future sequel. And the reason why is because I think the filmmakers are aware of the backlash that they'll receive if that happens. And And I'm sure Neve Campbell wouldn't want her legacy to end like that. But, you know, since Dewey got killed in the previous film, I could actually see Gale dying in this film since the two characters were so closely linked in this franchise. And they were also such a dynamic duo, and they did a majority of the investigations together. So if one's killed off, I have a feeling the other will too. I also strongly believe that Kirby is going to be one of the killers. The reason why that is because she actually returns in this movie as a police officer. And in the trailer, we can clearly see a shrine of Stab movie memorabilia. We can see actual crime scene ghostface robes worn by the killers, bloody shirts worn by the victims in Woodsboro, and much more. And my question for you guys is, what kind of person would have access to all this crime scene evidence? That's right, a police officer. And there is also no way that a normal crazed Stab fan or any teenage copycat killer would be able to get their hands on all this stuff. Only someone in law enforcement could. Now, as far as Kirby's motive goes, I have no idea what it's going to be. Maybe ever since her best friend Jill became one of the killers, she became infatuated with the idea of becoming one herself. So when she finds out that Tara, Sam, Chad, Mindy, and the rest of the survivors come to New York, she devises a plan to kill them all with some accomplices. We also know that Kirby's a huge fan of horror movies, so it would definitely make a lot of sense for her to collect all the stuff in the shrine. So I can definitely picture that happening. In the trailer, she also states that this new Ghostface isn't like any other Ghostface. So my question is, how does she know this exactly? And the answer is she knows who the other Ghostface killer or killers are. She has accomplices. That's my personal thought, but we'll have to wait for the film to find out who the accomplices are. And if Kirby is the killer, I don't think she will have the I did it because of the movie's motive, because that's been done twice and it just feels less personal. If she is the killer, I think she's going to have a more personal motive, kind of like how Mrs. Loomis did in Scream 2, as well as Roman Bridger in Scream 3. And the motive doesn't really need to be super complex or creative or original. It really just needs to be logical and realistic. That's what I'm hoping for. There's also another character in this movie named Detective Bailey who is filling in for Dewey's role, I guess. And this guy could also be a suspect and possibly be an accomplice to Kirby, since he's a cop as well, you know? And maybe he was a former cop in Woodsboro that recently moved to the city to start a new life. And then he eventually meets Kirby. And then from then on, everything just goes downhill and off the walls crazy. Maybe he's even Kirby's father who changed his name. Who the hell knows, but I'm super excited to find out. Maybe they'll have some sort of connection to the original or maybe one of the sequels. Again, guys, this is all just speculation, so if my predictions are completely wrong, don't bash me for it, you know? Obviously, the film hasn't been released yet, so I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but these are all just guesses. Obviously, I need to see how the story evolves as I'm watching it, because my opinion on who the killers or the victims could be could easily change. And it's also a whodunit movie, so anything goes, really. I really don't think that Sam is going to be the killer like a lot of people are saying that she is. In my opinion, it would just be way too obvious since her biological father is Billy Loomis. And I just don't picture that happening, but I'm pretty certain that she's going to survive in this film along with Tara. I also think that Stu Macher will not return, but maybe we'll get a flashback of him. I'm not sure. That's the only way I could see him returning, especially since Kevin Williamson confirmed that he's dead. His arc in the first film is pretty much done, and there's no reason for him to return other than nostalgia. A lot of people are guessing that he will be the killer because there's actually a mask in the trailer that looks like an aged Ghostface mask. But I really just think it's the original mask that a crazed Stab fan wanted to keep. And maybe it's even Billy's mask or Stu's mask. Who the hell knows? I also think that Sydney won't show up in this movie, but will be briefly mentioned. And maybe she'll appear in Scream 7 down the line. But let's hope that she's paid the amount that she wants, because the whole salary dispute thing messed everything up. And that's why she isn't in the film, which really sucks. But I know a lot of people are speculating that the whole salary dispute thing was just a huge publicity stunt for Sydney to come in and maybe be one of the killers. That would be absolutely nuts if that happened. I don't think that's going to happen. I really think that's a big stretch. And it would kind of ruin her character in a way if she ended up being the killer. So I don't want to see that happen. I also know there's a lot of speculation that Jill and Charlie are going to return, but I really don't think that's going to happen. I think that they're dead and it would be a cheap move to resurrect them, and I think the filmmakers are smart enough to know that. Obviously, Kirby's return was an exception because we never actually saw her die on screen, and before the camera cut, she was still breathing while bleeding out, and it's definitely possible that she could have survived, and it was confirmed a long time ago that Wes Craven intended on keeping her alive when she instantly became a fan favorite. Also, as far as more predictions go, I think that Mindy and Chad will not survive. I have a feeling that Mindy is going to die on the subway, and then Chad will die later on. And this is the second movie of the new Spyglass trilogy, so I think they're both going to die because it'll be a callback to when Randy died in Scream 2. And since they're blood related, I think this will make a lot of sense, but we'll see what happens. Now, as far as what I want to see personally, I really hope that for the first time, they actually don't reveal who the killers are, and then they actually get away with the murders, and then we have to wait until Scream 7 to find out who they are. Or at the very least, just have one or two get revealed, and then wait to find out who the third killer is for the next movie. I think this would get the fans so excited if they left off on a huge cliffhanger, and I really hope they go through with that. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I think there are going to be 3 or more killers in this movie. I'd say 3, but I really think that the killers are going to be part of a cult that's obsessed with true crime and stab and the murders that took place in Woodsboro from those previous 5 Scream films. And this movie is basically going to implement what Scream 3 was originally supposed to be. And I think that's going to be really interesting. So guys, that's about it as far as my early predictions go and what I want to see personally. I do have high hopes for this film and I really want it to be good. I'm actually way more excited for this movie than I was for Scream 5 because that Scream 5 trailer just looks so generic and it didn't seem like they brought anything new to the table. On the other hand, Scream 6 looks to have a ton to offer and I'm really curious and optimistic to see what they do. I'm really hoping that this movie turns out to be a lot better than Scream 5. And guys, I like Scream 5, but in my opinion, the film really played itself safe and kept everything to a bare minimum. It didn't really take any chances other than killing off Dewey and also introducing the whole requel idea. But yeah, as far as Dewey goes, his death was done terribly and there's no way a 110-pound girl can defeat a trained officer, you know? I'm really not happy that they made that creative choice. And by having Dewey get distracted by his phone and then getting stabbed, it was just lazy writing, you know? And direction. And Scream 5 just didn't have the charm or subversive attitude of the original movies, and it was kind of like a generic type of slasher. I understand that it was a requel and it was trying to remind us of that original film. But yeah, I think they could have done something a little more original. The only interesting thing that I liked was that for the first time, a girl actually survives the opening. And yeah, but in my opinion, if Wes were still alive, I'm sure he would have given us something much more unique and different. If I had to give Scream 5 a rating, I would probably give it a B if I had to give it a grade. At least it was better than Scream 3. So guys, that's going to conclude today's video. I really hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think of my thoughts and predictions in the comment section below. Also, let me know if you guys are excited for Scream 6 and comment down below what you guys want to see personally. So thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to hit that notification bell and I will see you later with some more videos.